Hello, everyone. I'm Jamie Price. Whew, February energies already. So it has been an interesting start to the year. It really came out with a lot of energy. And of course, this is going to be the year of the horse. So this definitely will be a year with a lot of power to it. And as we're ending that 2025 cycle, which really had a lot of intensity to it, especially a lot of purging energy. We're seeing that crossover as new beginnings, which especially started in November of last year, merging with the old ending and things that will continue to cross over like that. These are never just hard stops. And of course, we are collectively in a time of a lot of change. And that came up much more strongly in in January than I was even expecting. But it was definitely a year of a lot of purging and intensity. And I felt a lot of that intensity in January as well. So I want to recap January just a little bit because I wanted to go deeper into some of the things that I was experiencing as the month went on. And then, of course, that blends right into February topic because it really feels like a bit of a juxtaposition where the freedom energies of January is in some ways kind of opposite to the energies of February. But of course, as we transcend duality, this is all about blending opposites, connecting opposites, and not living in the either or experience, but integrating ourselves into the wholeness of the connection that's inherent in all things. So, just a little recap with the January energies of freedom, because what I noticed was on a personal level, I had a lot of deep things that were purging that actually had a lot more intensity to them, maybe than I would have expected. But of course, with hindsight, it's like some of those aha moments, or sometimes kind of like duh moments. But that intensity went pretty deep. And when a lot of times when I was doing my healing work, which I typically do most mornings, every morning, unless there's some kind of extenuating circumstance. So often when I was doing that, I would have the literal fear body shakes that animals do after they've had some kind of trauma. And then they shake that fear off and then on with life. That was occurring quite a bit as I was working on myself during January. And all of that had that kind of freedom umbrella to it. Like I was literally sitting to look at what are some of the areas that I need to work on personally that are connected to my expansion of freedom or anywhere that I'm contracting from freedom. And so lots of deep fear energy was releasing from my body. And then this brings me into the next part that I wanted to talk about with the January energies of freedom is I was seeing so much shift in the collective as the old ways of control and manipulation and deception break down, that the way that fear has so consistently been utilized and, of course, masked in so many different ways, sometimes even in ways that seem like they're positive. I've used the example before of parents that well meaningly even will teach through fear. Like, don't do that or else, instead of educating on wise choices, which is really important for becoming an empowered sovereign. And that's certainly what freedom is all about. It's inherent within us. And it's, of course, what our empowerment, what this time of ascension or our natural evolution into empowered sovereigns is all about. So that freedom topic really went deep. in January. And on a collective level, I was seeing, interesting, I was seeing so many collapsings of the old ways that things used to be done. And not in the way like, oh, boom, everything changes on a dime. That's not the way that collectives work. It's like the golden mean where something breaks in the middle and then because that's its weakest point, but that line is still there and then it continues to do that until something new is formed. And so this is how things move collectively, that there's a slower pace to it, although it does not feel like it. um, there's a slower pace to it because it's almost like waves rippling out rather than something that's personal in our lives. Even though some of our changes, of course, are going to be more dramatic or drastic, they're going to be faster, and others will be slower over time. But that overall expression of freedom is it's breaking down bit by bit. And so much of this has kept bringing me back to a quick channeling from Lady Guinevere in 2005 that was talking about how the tides were turning on where our big focus was going to be. And essentially, the last bastion of control is minds, our mental focus. And so, especially in this year of understanding love, it is really taking us to a new level of aligning with our true power, love, which was the audio CD that back in the early 2000s, when I was creating those, my guide said, ultimately, this is really the only one you would ever need because this is what everything is always about, aligning with your true power, which is love. Another word for that is connection or consciousness or so many other synonyms. And it's not just the kind of conditional love that we experience here in the realm of conditions. It is that deep, inherent, unconditional love that is the universal scale, which, of course, gives us the keys to the kingdom. It grants us the freedom to create. We can create in positive ways that affirm life and elevate life, or we can choose to create in harmful ways that denigrate life. And that unconditionality allows all of those to be, and yet we live in the realm of conditions. And that's something that's very neutral. It's just a function of our linearity, just like time is a function of our linearity. So, as we are moving through this density, we are balancing the realm of conditions and unconditionality, or in January, where we are free and where we're not free, and not even necessarily in a dramatic way. Like, I mean that neutrally, like where we're not free, like I can't just float because I'm in this density. This is things that part of the rules of this density are allowing us to create within. And then we use those as the obstacles and opportunities that keep moving us forward. Again, pure neutrality in that. So January continued a lot of that intensity that has been going on for such a long time now. And yet, it is still bringing us to greater strength and clarity as the divine creators that we are. That is what understanding love, or last year, that year of the conduit, understanding how we are flowing energy and really using that power. As Ariane always says, when the loving ones are living their lives boldly, that's when the world really changes. Getting our energy into this world. That is what this time is all about. And that takes a strength and a courage and a clarity and patience and neutrality and all of the beautiful aspects of creativity that freedom is part of. Now, let's take this right into the February energies, because where this topic is taking us as we move through topics of personal healing that then affect our collective interactions, we move from a focus on freedom into a focus on what seems somewhat opposite, but Ariane is framing as a connected being. And I was shown this in two ways. Again, heralding back to January, is part of what we are each doing in our uniqueness, why we come into this density of experiencing separation. And we know that's only part of the story, but we come into this uniqueness in order to experience that opposite of connection. And that's what our physical senses help us do. It's part of what our ego helps us do, is to navigate this experience in physicality and the conditions that we're in this experience of separation. And yet, as we move into more empowerment, we move through this natural evolution of ascension, we are connecting what seems unconnected or what seems separated. And so the personal aspect of a connected being is holding those boundaries and allowing that separation to be the beautiful gift of experience that it is, to hold that inner uniqueness and clarity that you are in a separate body and a separate experience from everyone else for a beautiful and perfect reason. So, really honoring that uniqueness through that lens of connection. And the way that they showed me framing this lens of connection, first and foremost, is that we are connected with all of life. And so receiving that support of the universal connection or that cosmic connection, that subtle connection, the invisible connection, that we are a function of this density, but these universal laws and flow of invisible, quote unquote, connection that creates this experience. And so, in our uniqueness and really honoring that on a personal level, to see that through the lens of connection first, through the universal laws that are creating life with us, through us, and for us. And then, as we receive that support and we recognize that we are part of something that is vast, it's timeless, it is a pattern of creation that we are within, that we also then see through that personal lens of connection that what seems separate is connected in various ways. And when we are observing that lens of connection as we experience the separation, we are called to do that by moving ourselves into more freedom within expectation. We could say that in different ways. We could say neutrality, freedom within freedom from expectation might create a scenario, for example, where boundaries that worked before don't necessarily work in the same way, because that connection is not necessarily one that is for the realm of conditions. So that's where our boundaries come in. It might cause us to see things through a perspective that releases and relaxes contraction so that our boundaries are more fluid as appropriate. So it's still through this lens of how am I as a unique individual flowing with freedom, recognizing that I'm a connected being flowing patterns of life and I'm connected to everything around me. And as I am flowing through that natural connection like water, then I am recognizing the balance of those two opposites, the freedom and the connection, the um, the the structure and the fluidity, the linear time and the relaxing of that, all of those opposites that we're looking at this lens of connection. So as we're moving through February. We also have an eclipse coming up on the 17th. And this one is a solar eclipse in Aquarius. And what really stood out to me, again, kind of heralds back to January energies of freedom. But what really stood out to me with this eclipse coming up, solar eclipse in Aquarius, is there is a powerful shift that is happening within each of us of really honoring the feminine aspect of our creativity. And again, this doesn't feel soft or passive. It feels very strong. And I don't mean that in an aggressive way at all. Yet there is this strength and boldness to our receiving, our connection with community. Again, it has nothing to do with male or female. This is a feminine energetic of community. We all are created with sperm and egg, the masculine and feminine energy. We all have that balance of those energetics, electromagnetic within us. This is part of that creative from the internal, the mysterious, the intuitive, the community, the connection between things. And I feel that really strongly with this eclipse coming up. And to me, because I'm not an astrologer, and you will get much better detailed information from astrologers, but to me, solar eclipses feel like they are calling us forward with how we are externalizing things. And what this feels like, again, nothing to do with male or female, but it feels like claiming our connective power, claiming our intuitive power, our inner power. And that's what understanding love is all about. The overall energies of the year is that our true power is love, and where that freedom resides is within. And as they show me understanding love, it's about holding it within the self. I receive that clear information. I know that. That's what we mean by understanding. And I've heard it said before, but I know I've said it also that this is like an inner standing, like it's an inner experience. That's what this is about. And so this February, which February has always had like an intensity to me. I don't know why per se, but it just has always felt very intense. So this is a really interesting time of still a lot of strong movement. And yet, this feels very internalized. And it is all about honoring that lens of connection that is the other side of the story of this experience of separation that we have in physicality. So, interesting times. I love the juxtaposition of freedom And then our connectedness, that we are each a connected being and we are a connected species. We are connected with life. We are connected. Ariane always calls us a connected collective, so that we really get that understanding of the connection that we are within a field of information, and light work is working consciously with that field of information. So, February is calling us to utilize that lens of connection, receive that support from the collective, the cosmic collective that we are, and utilize that power of your uniqueness, that you are a connected being within, you are connected with all life, and where you hold boundaries or relax boundaries, that is coming from this place of empowerment and freedom within you. Very interesting time. Now, I want to remind you that I am teaching light language online beginning mid February, the 21st. That is a Saturday. And February 21st, those 2 weekends are Light Language Foundations, where I go deep into all of the 4 forms of light language. And then there's also an accelerator portion where we go into galactic light language, elemental light language, all of the working with others, working with animals, all kinds of different topics that we do in that portion. And then I am teaching Crystalline Soul Healing online. March 6th begins that class. And Crystalline Soul Healing, it's a silent modality. There's no sound, there's no movement. So it pairs great with many things, including light language as I do it. But crystalline soul healing is a Lyran modality that aligns us with the universal laws, so that we are more clearly understanding the depth of what's occurring and clarifying our healing intentions. It's always such a fascinating class because we go deep into this vast alchemical template and what all of that means and tying that all together. And then, of course, we put that into practice, working with ourselves and working with others. So those 2 modalities I will be teaching online: light language starting February 21st and crystalline soul healing March 6th. And you can see more information about those on my website, jamieprice.com. Now, I do want to give you the healing intention before I do a healing transmission for a connected being, really amplifying that power that we naturally are. And the intention that I was given this month is to help us utilize that universal flow. And so the intention is, I am a connected being with universal flow. I am a connected being with universal flow. I am a connected being with universal flow. And this is to help us really receive that support that is constant. It's always been there. It always will be there. But when we make it more conscious, we utilize it more and we consciously create with it. And that helps us to move through this experience of separation and this density separation, that as we build into fourth density, where we are, as we have already begun, being more consciously connected, that we understand that support that is always there for us. I am a connected being with universal flow. So I hope you have a powerful February. I hope you enjoy the eclipse energies And if Valentine's Day is something that you celebrate, have a great one. And I hope you enjoy the crystalline soul healing and light language. Hemiamah rimahat ua, tamoarabeket Premahaktin atur ashtairum atbdel arknem. Brahtim anshurat anat ur. Brar hakramat enem suchurumim. Bramet am kuermat il hartut Bremhat nem suk un sharuk akawa. Brem hatirat em surpet ilel renem. Kaurat ang kaimem at sharut. Kai suk. Tamorabat remat I stairum. Bem horkam et nunu urem. Sair mashdarut u kurem. Grem haktir tenend el rutuma em. Shai kani arutu. Remat kuame. Sum stairut set urel. Krendat tamoram. Tarumat. Tamoramat dal renen steirumat sukurum. Krem hat red ul renendet im. Kawa som jairuma. Tananan kaimem. Namora tairat kral renam. Amora kaim. Koremak antarat el renenet braimak o kwam chain. Hurema. Tanine harutu hu. Kawa. Sum charakrayamat unum. What al. Ymauratan sturmek Krem hakrandat handiat al renem. Brairum akrendet en mem et soch mdoruk andiarat. Grande het deuret remem. Dianet awa. Ukiwaka. Damor hatat inem. Daurat anstaya krumat Brem hakrandat irat deura steurduk Damo harbarak andat krandat il renener